Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2020 and the second part of this experiment where we see what would happen if you put every Premier League team and major European team under a 30-year transfer embargo. Now last time we went 10 years into the embargo. We have 20 years to go in this episode, and then next episode we're actually going to go, I think, 50 years after the date of the embargo. I think that's the point that I managed to get up to. So do drop a like on the video if you're enjoying this experiment. We got great viewing numbers on the first part. Second part should be out tomorrow as well with a bit of luck. So make sure to subscribe for the final part of this experiment when it does drop tomorrow. But as you can see, when we left off last time, Manchester City's dominance of the Premier League was broken by Arsenal. The current league makeup has Arsenal at the top, City now dropped down to third, and Leeds the first team to break into the top four from the old Championship teams that we had. Chelsea currently in 5th place, Derby in 6th. Now people did point out that Sheffield United were not under embargo. I have no idea why that happened. I checked the original file on Steam, and it seems like they are supposed to be under embargo, so I don't know why it hasn't actually applied it when the game was loaded up. There must be something that either I've done wrong or just hasn't quite worked out for whatever reason. But anyway, I have gone ahead and had a look, and it doesn't have a major impact on this experiment. You know, maybe Sheffield United would have got relegated down to non-league football and out of the game, but we have plenty of other clubs who are towards the bottom of the Premier League that we can have a look at how they get on, and we have the newly promoted teams buying new players. You can already see Leeds and Derby and Fulham already ahead of Sheffield United in the league table, so it's not going to have a major bearing on the game. It's a little bit frustrating, but we can hopefully just work around that. Now, we have had a few Premier League teams get relegated down. Last time you could see Newcastle in the Championship amongst a load of other teams. In League 1 there are a few teams like Burnley down there. And then League 2, Crystal Palace just got promoted back up from League 2. But nobody has fallen out of league football yet. So I'm hoping that will happen in the next 20 years. So if you did miss the last part, go back and have a look at that. We're about to jump 20 years ahead and see how Europe is looking. So this was the table when we left off before. If we go the following year, you can see Leeds United become the first Championship team to win the Premier League. They came close or broke into the top four at the end of the last part. They are now Premier League champions. Manchester United, though, is still in 2nd place. West Brom jump into the Champions League places with Arsenal. And towards the bottom, you can see Leicester and Southampton going down. The following year, Leeds again retain the title, but for the first time, we have a top four made up of the old Championship teams. Only Arsenal and City still qualifying for Europe. The rest of them grouped down in the best of the rest positions. Fulham get their first title the following year. No major surprises. Everton getting relegated at the bottom of the table. Leeds come back for another title. Liverpool and Spurs edging towards the drop now as Fulham take another title. Man United and Chelsea just outside the top four. Leeds and Fulham currently battling it out for the Premier League titles. But when you look at the bottom here, Liverpool escape relegation by just 1 point, with Manchester City now in 16th. And the following year, Liverpool actually do survive, but Man City, the team relegated, on 32 points. Manchester City out of the Premier League with 13 years of embargo still to go. That is going to be one to watch. Now, Leeds taking title after title at the moment. You can see Liverpool down in 12th, Spurs just behind them. Another title for Leeds, with United jumping back into the top four there out of nowhere. As Leeds take another title, Man City came up, got relegated yet again. Leeds with another one. Spurs finishing bottom of the league, so Spurs now relegated with 10 years of embargo left. City down again as Leeds take yet another title, and then another title as Liverpool get relegated. And no Man City bounce back or Spurs bounce back, so we could be seeing that permanent drop happen, although they bounce back and then get relegated straight again. As Derby take, I think that's Derby's first title, is it? Arsenal, though, up in 3rd place still. They are not getting relegated. Liverpool goes straight back down. Chelsea get relegated, but City survive as Leeds take another title. Then Fulham as City go down. Then Liverpool and Spurs go down together. So at this point, there's only United and Arsenal left of the big sort of 6 teams in the Premier League. The following year, They managed to hold on to their places as Fulham take another title. And then in the most recent season, it's Derby County who have finished as Premier League champions, 1 point clear of Nottingham Forest, who've returned to glory here. And then towards the bottom, you can see Arsenal 1 point from safety as the embargo comes to an end. That could well have saved them as Chelsea go down. Manchester United, though, never got relegated either. Arsenal and Manchester United both hanging on to it. Just to check their transfer history here, to show you, there were no transfers in this entire time. These are all transfers going out the club. They did well to hang on to all of their players, though. To be fair, they never had much money going out. A few seasons where there'd be about 50 million come into the club, but they should have huge financial resources as a result of staying in the Premier League all this time and bringing in lots of players, saving money on wages and all the rest of it. Well, maybe saving money on wages. Let's have a look. They've got a player on 475,000 a week, left winger. And looking at his record here, been with them since the start as an academy graduate. Very good average statistics. A lot of the man of the match performances in there. He seems like he is an absolute quality player. 177 potential ability. But decent wages for some others, and then everybody else pretty cheap, to be fair. A few players up quite high, but overall not an awful lot of value left in this Manchester United team. Derby County, though, top of the Premier League champions, won it a few times. Not quite the dominance of Leeds. They've got a lot of players on huge wages here, and a lot of very good players alongside that as well. So huge number of players, over 100 grand a week there. They really are a dominant team. And if we look at Leeds, who won the majority of these Premier League titles, huge record of wins there, and have a look at their transfer history, I'm sure they've been spending a lot of money on players. You can see a couple of seasons here where they dished out 200 million and more. Just enormous amounts of money being spent. And looking at their senior squad, player on 400 grand, Henny Hesp, worth 78 million pounds, signed from City for 40 million. And then a few other players on a huge amount. But look at these potential ability ratings: 193, 189, 185. So many over 180. These are some of the best players in the world at Leeds now, possibly with room to continue developing as well. So interesting the way the Premier League is shaken out there, but especially that the likes of United and Chelsea are still, or Chelsea just got relegated, but United and Arsenal still in there. No other Premier League teams left. Even Sheffield United, who were not under embargo, are no longer in the Premier League. So it goes to say, like I said, it didn't have an impact on the experiment whatsoever. Now dropping down into the Championship, you can see Sheffield United back into the Premier League alongside Spurs, who've managed to get into the Premier League as well despite their embargo. Liverpool and City only dropped to the Championship, which is a little bit surprising that 30 years of not being able to sign players and they're still just in the Championship. So I imagine that they will bounce back reasonably quickly. You can see West Ham, Newcastle down here as well. Everton finishing above Liverpool and City. In League One, Bournemouth as the champions, as Leicester and Crystal Palace both get relegated down to League Two. And in League Two, Burnley just got promoted. Norwich promoted as well. Have we got anybody else in here? It doesn't look like it. It looks like their fall has really just been totally limited for some reason. Looking in the National League now, I'm pretty sure there's nobody down here either. So no Premier League teams, after 30 years of not being able to sign players, actually got relegated into non-league football or even out of the game. Absolutely nobody relegated into non-league football from the Premier League. That is crazy, that 30 years of signing no players and they've managed to hang on in the game like that. I'd love to get your explanations for why you think that happened down below, because you know some of these teams do have very good facilities around them, but even the likes of, League 2 is the lowest we got and both teams got promoted out of there. But Burnley, look, if we have a look at their in-game details and their facilities, they're not, they're good facilities, but they're not exceptional. They don't have a lot of money coming in, only okay finances. I don't know why they wouldn't have dropped even further, given they've just not been able to sign players. Their transfer history, let's see how much money. Look, they've barely raised any money from transfers. They've just held on to every player they've ever had. If we look at that senior squad, there's not a lot of potential ability in there, not a lot spent on wages, and no value in the team whatsoever. They've barely got any players above 50k. and yet they're getting promoted out of League Two. So I'm not entirely convinced by maybe the in-game mechanics following this 30-year transfer embargo. But if we pop over to the Bundesliga and have a look at the state of this competition, because you may remember that Bayern Munich got relegated. I think they came back up at one point. Yeah, they got relegated before we finished the last episode. Now, the following seasons, you can see Wolfsburg, Eintracht Frankfurt, Bayern Munich still in there. Borussia Dortmund do get relegated. Bayern Munich get relegated. And Bayern Munich don't come straight back up either. They do now. Borussia Dortmund seem to have completely fallen out of this league. Bayern Munich just hanging on to it at the moment. Still up in 8th, climbing up the table now into 6th place. 10th, 10th, 9th. Then they start to drop down to 14th before coming back up to 8th again, and now 14th again. So despite being relegated a couple of times, they've managed to keep bouncing back. And a good run of finishes through the league season as well. Big stadium, 75,000 fans able to fit in there. If we drop down to Bundesliga 2 and try and find Borussia Dortmund, you can see they're now down in 13th place down there. And if we also drop down to Liga 3 and just do a quick check, you can see Bayer Leverkusen now in the 3rd tier of German football. It's a shame we didn't get to see Bayern Munich drop down below or into the same league as Bayern. Second team there, but Bayer Leverkusen are in the 3rd tier of English football. It's going to be interesting to see if they can get back, because they've been fighting in and out between the 2nd and 3rd tier. So I imagine with Den Donker in charge of the club, there will be a bit of cash coming in with this. Only 30,000 fans in the stadium, to be fair, so who knows whether they're actually going to be able to bounce back up. Now, looking at Italy, where quite a few teams were put under embargo, it's not a major surprise to see the other teams taking up the top places, but we want to see who gets relegated. So Napoli got relegated pretty quickly after we left last time, and then Juventus actually finished bottom of the league with 21 points. Napoli and Juventus getting relegated year after year as Lazio go down as well. Milan dropping out. Juve, you can see Bologna having an absolute stranglehold on this league, and suddenly Juventus not appearing back in the game. Roma going down. Inter and Milan both hanging on in that top tier as Fiorentina start taking a few titles. Inter and Milan now both relegated. And in the most recent season, you can see Roma have managed to hang on in there, but all of the other big teams we put in here under embargo have now been knocked out of Serie A. Having a look at Serie B, you can see Juventus down there, managing to hang on though for the most part. Lazio also down there, Inter down there. No other big teams getting relegated there. But there might be, I'm just wondering, a Napoli in that league? I don't know what's going on there. Where are Napoli? If they dropped out of the game, Napoli have indeed dropped out of the game. There is no Napoli left in Italian league football. They are gone. So it's a shame we didn't get to see the likes of Juventus and Inter go down, but we do still have AC Milan about to drop down into Serie B. Roma, though, have managed to hang on, so it'd be interesting to see if they're able to bounce back and start getting a few titles. Now, looking at French football, this is a little bit of an interesting one. Not too many teams were actually put under embargo here. So if we have a look at where we were before, PSG were in 8th place. Lyon, I think, were also under embargo, and Monaco were under embargo. So if we go forward, you can see PSG hanging on. Monaco just got relegated. Nantes had an absolute stranglehold on this title before, and they seem to still be doing that as they keep winning year after year. But PSG hanging on in there, actually. They have not been relegated. 11th, then they finish down in 17th. We're getting towards embargo end date as Lyon finally go down. Then PSG go down in 17th place. And they have not bounced back at this point. Lyon go down again. But PSG seem to have fallen out of Ligue 1. So that's quite interesting as Monaco go down again, but Lyon's still up there. Drop down to League 2, and we can see a PSG currently in 6th place. They are rich in finances. You can see that nice downward curve on them. 50,000 fans available to fit in their stadium. It's going to be interesting if they're able to rebuild now. I assume they still have huge financial resources available, but we'll have to see. They don't have much value in their club anymore, so their youth players have not been quite coming through. Now, if we have a look finally at La Liga, who have dropped down to 5th place, but you can see Real Madrid actually winning titles, even though they're under embargo. The most recent titles as well. So when we left off, Real Madrid were in 6th place. Not too much change at the top, as Villarreal and Betis were sharing the titles. And then Real Madrid won it even in 2033. Barcelona still in 4th. Betis and Madrid both fighting out. Real Madrid still title challenging. Barcelona in there as well. Athletic Club Bilbao managed to win one. Real Madrid again, 101 points. You can see Barcelona still up there. Real Madrid in 2nd, 3rd, 2nd again. They take another title in 2046 as well. Valencia have been relegated, 14 points down there. But Barcelona, where are Barcelona? They're now in 15th place. So do they get relegated before this embargo ends? Valencia down again. And in the most recent season, Barcelona have survived relegation, never getting relegated. But Real Madrid thriving at the other end. I mean, is the embargo not worked on them or something? What has happened here? No, look, they've been under embargo all this time. Players only leaving the club. And yet they're still winning La Liga. They've still got all these players worth a huge amount of money. Julio Diaz, the biggest name, came through their academy. He's on 550,000 a week. Rafael Uri, another Spanish player, come through the youth academy. I mean, that's a really good generation of players because it's not too bad in depth as well. A few players who can be rotation, not worth too much money, but that is really impressive that Real Madrid have continued to win La Liga all this time later, given the number of teams who are not under embargo. But Barcelona, by comparison, have struggled a lot more, and you can see they have nowhere near as many high-value players or strength in depth, which is surprising given the La Masia reputation they have. They're still rich for money, but they've just not been able to make that impact in the league, which is just fascinating. Now, looking quickly at Liga NOS, you can see despite Benfica, Porto and Sporting all being under embargo, maybe because the league isn't loaded, they've continued to win all of the competitions there. I will just have a quick look. I'm pretty sure Ajax were put under embargo here, but even they've been still challenging at the top. And if we can have a quick look at the Scottish Premiership, Celtic winning almost every single title for quite some time. Rangers had one win in there, but Celtic have been winning every single one. I think Celtic and Rangers were both under embargo, if I can remember correctly. No, they have been signing players, so Celtic not under embargo. Maybe that was a mistake. But overall, not too surprising. You know, this embargo has not had the impact that I was expecting it to have. We've got a few relegations in the Premier League, but other than that, it's just not been that much of a shock. Now, having a look at the Champions League past winners over the last 30 years, you can see United and City were winning it up until the end of the last part, and then Leeds suddenly started winning quite a few. Wolfsburg got one, Fulham got one, but Leeds and Bologna sharing quite a lot of them for quite some time. Fulham getting another one as well. Eintracht Frankfurt managed to get one in there, two for Derby County in a row as well, losing in the third final. But it's been mostly Leeds and Bologna. Now, Leeds have won it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times now. Bologna 1, 2, 3, 4 times for them. So Leeds absolutely dominating the Champions League, but no sign of Real Madrid in the top positions, which is maybe why La Liga has dropped down to 5th place if they've not been able to take any Champions League titles. But the English team's doing very, very well in the Champions League, especially Leeds, who've been dominating everything. If we look at their competition screen, 8 Champions Leagues, 16 Premier League titles now, 2 Club World Cups, 8 FA Cups. If we have a look at the past winners here, I mean, there's not going to be too many surprises in this, really. It'll be the teams that have been winning the other competitions that win these. But 8 FA Cups, 2 Europa Leagues. Worth having a look at the winners here, actually. You can see when we left off before, have we got any major surprises in here? Nice getting one, West Brom and Birmingham both winning Europa League. Nantes in there as well. But Real Madrid finished runner-up in one of these years. Arsenal finishing runner-up not too long ago. Probably the most recent big club to get to one of those finals. And then if we have a quick look at the Carabao Cup, which Leeds have now won 6 times. Brentford managed to win one of these, but otherwise there's no real surprises in there either. So very interesting the way that's worked out. I mean, Leeds absolutely dominating this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Premier League titles in a row. 8 Champions League titles as well on top of that. They are probably the biggest team in world football now. I want to have a quick look at their club details. You can see finances wise, they've got 144 million in the bank, 80 million transfer budget. Ellen Road in pretty good shape. Their facilities in very good shape as well. So they have really, really done well to build on that reputation. Be interested to see if United and Chelsea and the other big clubs like City and Liverpool can come back and actually compete with Leeds now that Leeds have built up such a strong position at the top of the football table. Now, the other thing that we need to have a quick look at will be obviously the England team and the major international competitions, because we want to see if playing the young players has had a positive impact. Now, starting in 2029 when we left off, they lost the Nations League final to Germany, but England did have a good run, 11-0 over Canada here. Jimmy Burgess, you might remember, the most valuable player in the world at the time, as they managed to keep on going through the World Cup. They beat Argentina 2-0, Ivory Coast 3-0, Uruguay 2-0, and then lost 2-1 to Italy in the final. 100,000 fans at the Nou Camp. But England seem to be doing very well in the club competitions, in the cup competitions here. 5-2 over Holland in the European Championship quarter-final, and then lost 2-1 to Spain, extra time goal, killing them in the final. In the next World Cup, out in the quarter-final to France, disappointing. And then out in the quarter-finals to Spain of the European Championship. Quarter-finals to France again in the World Cup. No luck there. I don't know what happened here. Why is there no... Oh, have I messed up the dates? Potentially. Looks like it. Anyway, following year, nothing really there. You can see in the... What is going on with these dates? There we go. So in the following European Championship, they did manage to beat Spain on penalties, Germany on penalties, and then lost to Holland on penalties after winning 2 penalty shootouts in a row. And then in the World Cup, out in the semi-final on penalties to Germany, and then lost in the third place playoff to Argentina on penalties. Again, penalties having a huge impact on England's success rate. But then they beat Germany 4-2, France 3-2, and Spain 1-0 to win another European Championship. Then they also went and won the World Cup as well. 7-0 over Jamaica, 4-1 over Ecuador, beat Portugal on penalties, Brazil 3-1. And then in the final, a 3-0 win over Mexico, giving them their World Cup. Couldn't retain the European Championship, though, losing to Portugal, I think that was. But overall, they've done very well. And if we look at this competition screen now, they've won their second World Cup, and they now have 2 European Championships. Past winners of the World Cup here: England over Mexico, Spain over Germany, Argentina over Spain. France have now won a couple since we started this. Spain have won a couple, Italy getting one as well. England with 2 final performances. And then in the European Championship, looking at these past winners, Holland have won a couple, England have won a couple, France, Spain, Italy and Germany, all under embargo, also winning the European Championship. No big surprises in here, although Scotland have made 2 finals, which... I don't want to upset anybody, but I think that's probably quite unlikely. And yet they've managed to do it, despite not having any teams under embargo. So I'm not really sure what has happened there, but quite an interesting kind of fallout. Now, if we have a look at all players sorted by their potential ability, just to get an idea of where the best players are. So we've got David Forrester, the highest potential player in the world, currently at... Nottingham Forest. You've got Jam, who is Spanish at Marseille, 198. Paco Arabas at Bologna. No surprise, Leeds have Leighton Dunk up there. Real Sociedad have got a good player. Bologna with another one and another one. This guy plays at Vis Pesaro in Italy. I'm not sure he'll be there for long. 18 years old, 191 potential. Derby down here, Bologna, all the rest of them. So none of the traditional big teams are listed in there. Now, I do just want to add, if we have a look at current ability. So I've added in the current ability rating as well, and you can see it's not changed anything too much, but it's interesting to see where the best players in the world are. And this goes back to that point at that club that had so many players with potential ability of 180. There's only like 15 players in the game who have a current ability above 180. So if you've got that many players with 190 or so in their potential ability, you're always going to do very well out of that. But the current ability players, Bologna dominating at the top. Leeds have quite a few. And they are the two powerhouses of European football. So it'd be interesting if Bologna can keep going as well. But I think that will probably be it for this part of this experiment. There will be one more part to go. The embargo is about to end. And then we get to see all of the big clubs sign their players again. So let me know what you think is going to happen down in the comments. Make sure to subscribe for that next part, which should be out tomorrow. But until next time, see ya.